Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. This will help you pick the best comics that are dropping in terms of readability, speculation, etc. Comic publishers are stepping up their game for your entertainment value. So let's get right into it. First up is Batman number 52. This is the final issue of the new 52 before they do Rebirth. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on Batman was incredible. The images and the storylines that they created will last for decades in Batman lore. Next up is Action Comics number 52. Peter J. Tomasi has been doing an incredible job of writing for Superman. It's a very hard character to nail down. If you do the classic Superman, he looks like a goody-goody Boy Scout that just doesn't translate to today's world. If you make him too gritty, then it looks like he's copying modern superheroes, which are dark by nature. Shown here is the John Romita variant. If you're going to get one, go ahead and get his variants because they look great. Next up is Starfire number 12, and this book is a guilty pleasure. It's a much lighter read, and Amanda Connor's art looks great on this character. This appears to be the final issue because I don't see any solicitation for Starfire in her own title when DC does Rebirth in June. So if you want Starfire, buy this final issue and pick her up in the Teen Titans when they reboot that. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that is the all-new, all-different Avengers number 9. It's a new storyline introducing the new Wasp, and this looks very, very fantastic looking. The only thing better than that is the concept art variant shown here. If your comic store is selling these for less than $10 a piece, I would go ahead and grab one. This looks stunning. Next up is Black Panther number 2. This character has had cult following for 50 years since he was introduced in Fantastic Four number 52 back in 1966. The public at large may not know Black Panther, but now with the Civil War movie, his star is rising. Issue 2 deals with a citizen revolt within Wakanda, his home country. Retailers did not know that the Black Panther was going to be so received in the Civil War movie, and they probably under-ordered number 2, so this is going to be a sellout. You want to grab this if you see it at your comic store. Speaking of sellout, issue number 1 is going for a second print. The Black Panther movie comes out in early 2018, so you want to be on board with what's going on in the comic. It may be source material for the movie in the future when it drops. Next up is Darth Vader number 20. This is a no-brainer. There's an ongoing Darth Vader and there's an ongoing Star Wars series. Just go ahead and pick them up. Don't even think about it. They're still doing the action figure covers too. If you can get one of these for less than $8, I would do so, but I wouldn't spend any more money than that. Seriously, they're running out of characters for these action figure covers. They're using characters you've not even heard of now, but they still look cool. But I wouldn't grab them for more than $10. Come on, who is Inspector Thanos anyway? Next up is Deadpool number 11. His series is hilarious. This is the conclusion of the story arc where he takes on Sabretooth. Mike Allred is doing the covers, and his cartoonish style really works for the character of Deadpool. Next up is Empress number 1, which is going to a second print. This is written by Mark Millar. That's the guy that wrote Marvel's Civil War and the Old Man Logan storyline. Some people have a negative opinion on him because his work seems derivative. For example, doesn't this give you a Star Wars type of feel? But this guy really knows how to write a story. I would go ahead and pick up Empress. Next up is our favorite part of the program, which is a report on indie comics and small publishers. And trust me, Image Comics is killing it. They have 3 titles that are going to second prints this week, which includes The Discipline, number 1 and number 2. I told you about this book a couple of weeks before. It mixes 50 Shades of Grey with horror, and it's fantastic. Comic stores under-ordered this title. They had no idea it was going to catch on. I expect issues 3 and 4, once they release, are going to sell out and go to reprints too. Next up is Monstrous number 4, which is going to a second print. I've been telling you about this series for months. This all-female creative team of Marjorie Liu and Sana Takada looks fantastic. It's just been announced that they've been nominated for an Eisner as well. That is like the Oscar of comic books. If you're not picking up Monstrous every month when it drops, you shouldn't even be collecting comics. You should not be allowed to collect comics if you're not picking up Monstrous. Monstrous number 1 first print sells on eBay for an average of about $30 right now. So if you skipped over this last November, you're going to pay for it now. Next up is Southern Bastards number 14. This series by Jason Latour and Jason Aaron has been optioned for a TV series. It's similar to Walking Tall. Issue 14 promises the return of Roberta Tubb. She could be a very important character in a future TV series, so go ahead and get this. Next up is your speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be The Fix number 2. And yes, that's them pissing on the Hollywood sign. This series came out of nowhere and became a big, huge, successful hit with issue number 1. Imagine if Starsky and Hutch were crooked cops in a movie that was directed by Quentin Tarantino during his Pulp Fiction years. That's what you would have. Seriously, after reading issue number 1, I have never laughed so hard reading a comic in years. They are also re-releasing issue number 1 as a second print variant. On the cover is Mr. Pretzels. I know this sounds completely ridiculous, but Mr. Pretzels is a drug-sniffing dog, and our heroes, if you want to call them heroes, have to get some drugs to an airport and get past him. And that's your setup for issue number 2. If you love dark comedy, you will love this series. Next up, Boom Studios gives us George Perez's Sirens number 5 from a 6-part miniseries. George is a real icon in comics. I first learned about him in the late 70s when I started collecting. Yeah, I'm not old. And he was drawing the Avengers. And then he took over the Teen Titans, and he's the co-creator of Deathstroke. This guy is the bomb. He has influenced countless artists out there. He's in his early 60s and he's still going strong. Next up, Dark Horse Comics gives us House of Penance number 2. Issue number 1 was on my recommendation list. I would suggest you go to issue 2 for a second helping. This looks very, very good for horror fans. Next up is Penny Dreadful number 1 from Titan Comics. This is a tie-in with the television series that's on Showtime. This is the first time it's ever been presented in comics. The setup here is vampires in the Victorian age in London. That sounds pretty cool, don't you think? Next up is the biggest underdog in comic publishing, and that would be Valiant Comics. They are putting out nothing but tremendous work, including Ninjak number 15, which is written by Matt Kent. I describe this book as the best title that you're not reading, but hopefully that'll change. Just imagine if James Bond had ninja skills and more gadgets than Batman. That would be Ninjak. You should be able to get any back issue for cover price, so you can catch up on the storyline, or you can get a trade paperback, of course. And last but not least, Valiant is giving us 4001 AD Exo-Man Award number 1. This is part of Valiant's big summer crossover in which they're going to take all their titles and show what the future will look like in year 4001 involving these characters. Valiant stories are less comic booky and more like science fiction that so happens to have superheroes in it. So it's written better than just about anything out there. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. Don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.